Welcome to episode 2 of the Owner's Lounge. I'm here with Dan, the overhyped sleeper. It's FFPC Cutdown days, and we've got some rosters to go through. Let's get to it.
Go district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offers the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden, they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man, y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
What is up, Dynasty Land? We are back for episode 2, Dan. This our first one was a lot of fun. We focused on 2 big trades that we made in our 500 Hardway League, which we took down last year. We're going to touch on the Hardway League again today. You know, FFPC Cutdown days makes it a little exciting. We saw a lot of trades go around this week. I saw Austin Martin put up a cool tweet just about like, put the trade calculators away this week, because it's all about how much space do I have on my team versus, you know, do I want players? Do I want picks? How's the week going for you so far, Dan?
Yeah, going pretty good. I've most of my leagues that I'm doing on my own in FFPC, I've either done my cut downs or I'm just a player away or whatever, you know, and I know who I'm planning on cutting. But you know, it's one of those things where I will probably spam my leagues with some last minute offers, just to make sure everybody knows what they're passing up, you know, because part of the thing is you can put out a message in your, you know, in any league, and maybe half the people will pay attention to it, and particularly in FFPC where you've got you know, people in your league that have, you know, 15 dynasty teams or something like that. You know, all those messages get lost real quick, you know, because they're coming out of every league and everything else. So, you know, it's hard to keep up with, who was offering what where, and maybe I might be interested in that, you know. So I've found the most effective thing sometimes is to just literally spam the league, like go through every single owner and say, you know, I'm giving away this player for this pick, you know, and just give them a trade offer that's something close to that, you know. And 95% of the time it's getting just rejected without comment or whatever. But every once in a while you will get an accept, or every once in a while you'll get a counter offer and you're like, hey, I'll take it, you know. So there's a lot of ways to handle that, but I think the most important thing is just, you know, if there's a player that you seriously think you ought to be able to get a pick for, physically ask every owner, you know, if they want him, and make them an offer.
And I love that, Dan, that you brought that up, because I'm guilty of probably not doing that enough. Before we get into specifics, and for those who are maybe newer to the show, the whole point of this is Dan and I co-own some high-stakes dynasty teams. We've done really well. We had an amazing year last year. We're going to go through some of the rosters today, including our ugly child, Dan. I call it the ugly child. Our one non-successful dynasty venture in Superflex, but we'll get to that. But yeah, before we get into the specific, I want to ask you, so, you know, Austin talks about put the trade calculators away. So how do you decide like what you want for the player now? Let's say, for example, you got to cut a player like Juju or Dubs, you know, your team is stacked. These are guys maybe on other rosters. They'd like to have the depth. How do you decide what, let's say, the true value is on the dynasty market versus, you know, 48 hours before cutdown day?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that can and should go into that. I mean, number one is, you know, what is the player worth in a vacuum? Austin says put away the trade calculators, but you also want to know kind of, you know, like if you're seriously contemplating cutting Juju, you know what he's roughly worth. And So there are a couple ways you can go about it. Depending on how stacked you are with picks, you might say, you know what, I'm just going to actually cut Juju, and I think I've got the picks to get him back if I want him back. But more often, you'll just take whatever you can get, because odds are, you can get a player. Juju's probably going to cost you, I don't know, like the 201 or 203 or something like that in your rookie draft, and you might rather just reset and try somebody new there, depending on how your team is set up, so let somebody else have them. So, in that case, if all I can get is a third or fourth for Juju, well, I just make sure I go out there and offer them to everybody for what I want, see what kind of counter offers I get, and take the best one I can.
All right, cool. So let me add our team here.
Okay.
So this is the hard way. We went again, guys. If you didn't watch last week's episode, go check it out. It's not very long. We pulled off a couple pretty big trades, pretty big blockbuster trades in these leagues, or in this league. So you see, you guys recognize some of the names there. But if you look at our roster, so we actually touched on this last week, Dan. We started touching on kind of who we were thinking would be possible cut down. So let's start with the starting lineup. It's a 1 QB Superflex $500 buy-in on the FFPC. Justin Herbert as the QB1. Justin Taylor, Najee Harris, who we made a move for last week. Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hawk. And then in our flex right now, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman. And then, of course, as the kicker degens, we had to take Justin Tucker. And on our bench, we have some nice bench pieces. Antonio Gibson is a guy we're both really high on going into the season. I know I am anyways. I think we've talked about that. Tyler Algier had a surprisingly, I think for a lot of people, good rookie showing last year. Who knows what happens in that offense between now and the start of the season? But again, shown enough to show value on a bench. Even these shallower type benches. Jalen Warren, we got him in the Harris deal. We love having that backup. He showed really nicely last year. And then Jerick McKinnon, I think, is a guy we identified a possibility. James Conner, Gus Edwards, and then our two tight end for depth behind TJ Hawk or Jelani Woods, and then Tyler Higbee. So that gives you an idea of the roster. What we're trying to do, what you're trying to do. Again, what is it? Is it midnight tonight, Dan?
Yep, midnight tonight. Got to get down to 16 total players.
Exactly. So most teams are around 20. You want to cut it down to 16 between now or tonight, and then it stays that way till the rookie drafts, which I saw, Dan, are like 30 some days away or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as cut downs are over, you can start making trades again, and you can go up over 16. You just have to be down to 16 players on the cut down day, and then once that's passed,
that's right.
Then you can do 2-for-1, 3-for-1 trades, whatever you want. You could have 24 players on your roster by the time the rookie draft rolls around, and they're
that's right.
There's going to be some teams out there with after the rookie draft that have like 30 players on them, and they'll have to cut 10 of them before the season starts, but. That way they can just have all those 30 players on their roster and see what develops over the summer.
So we have a stack of RBs, which is always nice. I know we like kind of building rosters that are top heavy at receiver and then deeper at the running back position. This is a perfect example of it. So you see JT, Harris, and then we've got Gibby, Algier, Warren, McKinnon, Connor, Edwards. So basically we have two players to cut out of the 6 running backs and 2 tight ends. Anyone jump right off the page to you? I think it's the guy with the FA beside his name, no?
Yeah. Jerick McKinnon, very well he was a super useful piece for us last year.
Yeah.
Scoring a lot of touchdowns and getting some pass receptions. And
he was one of your calls last year. Let's face it. He was one of your guys. You were all over him at the cheap prices he was at, and he helped you definitely win some leagues and helped us even with this league.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of teams like to play the bikini season thing this time of year, and in an FFPC it almost forces you to, just because you can only keep 16 players. So guys like McKinnon are going to regrettably end up on the cutting room floor. But if McKinnon ends up back with the Chiefs, I mean, he's going to be somebody that we would want to reacquire, because all the unless they draft a running back, everything that was in place for him last year is in place for him coming up again this year. So, it's regrettable to let him go. He's a guy I would love to keep, but at his age and being a free agent, I don't see any other choice but to cut him.
All right. I feel bad I wasn't quick enough on adding a nice sound effect for these drops.
The toilet flush.
Yeah. I'm sure I have something. I'll try to pull it up, see if we have something. So we're down to 17. We've got one more to cut. I mean,
to me, we've got another obvious answer staring us in the face.
Running back.
Yeah, and I don't want to cut a tight end because basically, if you look at what we've got Hawkinson in our starting position, and then we've got Higbee, who's a kind of a reliable guy. He's a guy that is likely to be scoring some points every week. So he's one of those safe options. And then Jelani Woods is I think has a lot of upside potential. Given the team that he's on and the situation he's in, and just what his physical profile is. He's a guy I'm excited about that I think could turn into something. He could end up being nothing, but we don't want to let him loose because
no, his upside is too big.
If he turns into a top 8 tight end or something like that, that's way more valuable than a low level running back. So to me, Gus Edwards is the easy cut here.
Yeah, Jelani Woods, he's, as a Colts fan, I mean, they love those freak athletes out there, guys like Alec Pierce. So I feel like they are going to highlight him this year with a new rookie. You and I talked about this. They're going to have a new quarterback. And no matter who that new quarterback is, we talked about how they like to lean on the tight end normally, right? So when they first come in. So if Jelani Woods is that guy, he has tremendous upside in a tight end premium league. And Tyler Higbee, I mean, the last 2 seasons, as much as he's kind of boring, he's given you top 15 production at the tight end position, giving you a 15 and a 13 season fantasy points per game. So guys, you do want to keep. My experience is I like depth as well at the tight end position. If I can have, like I have another team where I have Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, and I even kept Fant just because I like having the flexibility. These guys can fit into your flex spots and they're 1.5 premium. So if you hit the right one, like if Woods hits, it's money. Higbee is more kind of that dependable safety net right now with having Hawk in there. Obviously, Hawk will be our big starter. So Gus Edwards, Dan, or is that who you're thinking?
Yep, got to be Gus. I mean, he's the one piece we really don't need. We don't want to trade off Jaylen Warren if for no other reason than we have Najee Harris. Allgeier, Connor, and Gibson are all worth much more than Edwards. So
as much as I love him in best balls right now, Gus Edwards, I think you can get him in the last round. I mean, that's an RB2.
Right.
It's not, but you could do worse than that. All right, so Edwards is gone. We are down to 16, Dan, in the hard way. We're ready to defend our title.
Yes, love this team. Love where we're sitting at with it, and we've got a few draft picks that we can use as well to kind of help restock. Though we traded away a bunch of them. We've got like 3rd through 7th round picks left to just kind of fill in the back end of the roster with an intriguing rookie or two and a decent veteran or two, most likely.
Yeah, a couple of 4th, a 5th, 6th, 7th. We made moves and we invested those draft picks and we took down a 500 dynasty team. That's how you want to do it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's go to the depot.
Yep.
So we were trying to figure this out because I was pretty sure we had finished better than 3rd, but when you go to the playoff breakdown, for some reason, the league page, it shows us as finishing 3rd, but we actually finished 2nd in this league. It's another 500 Dynasty Depot, run by the Dynasty Depot. Go check them out, guys. Right now, you can buy orphans, sell your your FFPC teams, buy other ones at a discount, or even inflated if the team is a contender right away. But just a great market for Dynasty teams. Something, pretty creative idea, and they created a league. We jumped in, and we've had some success, Dan, off the bat. Unfortunately, we've got, as I put on our thumbnail for today's episode, we've got Lamar Jackson as our QB1, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones as our running backs, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper in the flex, Singletary. I threw him in there yesterday, Dan. I just threw him in there instead of who did we have? I think you had Fournette in there, but either way, right? They're depth running backs. And then we have tight end Darren Waller, which could be a great comeback story this year. On the bench, we've got Gardner Minshew and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy really helped us last year coming off of waivers, especially with Lamar missing some time, Leonard Fournette, and then some receiver depth here with Juju, Brandon Cooks, Mecole Hardman, Donovan People-Jones, Elijah Moore. So we've got 3 Cleveland Brown players. Dan, is this the team where we had Watson or no?
No, that's not.
And then Juwan Johnson and tight end depth, and then we've got a kicker there. So we could probably just get rid of the kicker right away. Who do we have? Miami's kicker?
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I think they're both good kickers, but definitely one of them has to go. So
yeah, all right. So let's drop that right away. So again, we're cutting this down to 16. So we've got 9 there. The quarterbacks. This is tricky, right? With Lamar as your starter, and then the next guy on our depth chart is another guy that could easily miss time at the beginning of the season. So how are you playing this, Dan?
So the way I'm playing this is, I think, if we cut Gardner Minshew, I don't even think we have to re-grab him in the rookie draft or anything like that. I think, we can afford to let our quarterback situation play out over the summer, and there will be a quarterback available to us that we can start the season with if for some reason both Lamar and Purdy are not playing. So
one thing you never have to panic on is losing a quarterback in 1 QB FFPC, right? because the benches are shallow. Not every team holds a second quarterback. You see guys get dropped. I picked up Dak Prescott in 1 league. I'm pretty sure it was last year or the year prior on the FFPC. So you do have opportunity to pick up guys. We've got rookie quarterbacks coming in, so the pool will inflate a bit. But I love, I agree completely with letting it play out between Brock and Lamar. Minshew at this point is not worth holding in a 1 QB.
Right. And if we're really in trouble coming up with our last cut, I also don't mind letting even Brock go. Just because
I agree.
Of the situation where he's in is kind of unstable, and we don't know exactly what to expect. But
it's not like he's. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily consider him a QB1. I know he gave us some great production last year coming in, but you know how those go, Dan. I feel like him coming back from the injury, nothing's guaranteed when he gets back in the driver's seat. So as much as I love what he's shown, and he can definitely be a starter in the NFL, and he could keep going in that direction, but he is coming off an injury. He is an undrafted. Pretty sure he's undrafted, right?
Yeah. Well, he was drafted. He was Mr. Irrelevant, I believe.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He was the last pick of the 7th round. So
that's
right. He's. Yeah.
Forgot about that. That's how that seems like 100 years ago, Dan. You just said that, and I'm thinking that seems like 100 years ago that Brock Purdy was on his run.
Yeah, exactly. And and while it might seem like we're giant
Cleveland
fans, we kind of got there by a roundabout way, because when we first rostered Amari Cooper, he was with Dallas.
Yeah.
When we first rostered Elijah Moore, he was with the Jets. So.
Yeah.
But now we have collected 3, probably the 3 top Cleveland receivers.
So who's the last guy on your list out of all these guys? Is it Hardman? Is it DPJ?
Yeah, when I'm looking at this list, I think Hardman is probably the best cut, because I do kind of, I'm at least a little bit intrigued by the DPJ profile.
Same.
And what he can do. in this offense if they open it up. Juju, I think we got to hold on to. Brandon Cooks, I think we got to hold on to. Elijah Moore, getting a fresh start, I definitely want to hold on to him. So now we've just listed 4 of our top 6. Juwan Johnson, I definitely want to hold on to because we only have one tight end.
Yeah.
And Johnson actually was a sneaky good tight end down the stretch last year. And if they don't add in New Orleans, if they don't add anybody at tight end, he's likely to do the same. So now we're looking at DPJ, Juju, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Juwan Johnson all being keeps. So it's really, we need to cut 2 of the top 3 guys on our bench. Brock Purdy, Leonard Fournette, and Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, Juwan Johnson, surprisingly, top 18 tight end last year, points per game. So he's, especially with Cargo in there, you got to think that offense still has a chance to go in so many directions. We don't know, right? With the new quarterback coming in. So he's shown enough to keep him on like we said, a tight end premium. We want at least a tight end 2, if not add another one during the season or at the beginning of the season. But I'm with you. Hardman is my first gut to go. You know our history with Hardman, Dan. It's not a good one.
We've never started him on the right week yet. So yes.
Every time we put him on our bench, he, the typical, the usual.
And nobody wants to pay anything for him.
Exactly. So he's gone. Now, Fournette doesn't have a team yet, but you got to think that I guess my first question to you is, do you think Fournette is on an NFL team before the start of the season?
I think he almost certainly is. So it, to me, coming down between Fournette and Purdy is kind of the easy cut because we can find a quarterback that's probably as good or better than Purdy at the start of the season. And even if Leonard Fournette isn't on an NFL team, then that's when we make the move and we cut Fournette and then we bring on a quarterback in that spot.
Agreed. I just had visions of Leonard Fournette going to the Chargers.
Right, exactly. Because Fournette, it's fun to make fun of him. Fat Lenny, he's...
No, we've both liked him. I think you and I have always liked Fournette. As much as he's fun to make fun of, he produces, man.
Right, exactly, because he catches passes. And, when you get a pass-catching running back who's also good at scoring touchdowns, he's not going to break you any 50-yard runs or anything like that. We're past that. But he's basically like a Zeke Elliott who's probably got more gas left in the tank than what Zeke does.
All right, so we've done the hard way. We've gone through Depot.
Yep.
Now
we go to the redheaded stepchild.
Yes, the ugly duckling of the family. It's our 250 Pros versus Joes Superflex. Savage is in this league. You see our current matchup against the RotoViz guys, Curtis and Sean. So a lot of savages in this league. It is Superflex. So the biggest difference when you get into Superflex on the FFPC is one of those flex spots becomes your Superflex. So in the previous 2 one-quarterback teams we were looking at, you could slide in 2 offensive players in your flexes. Now you really have one where you could put in a receiver, a running back, or a tight end, and then you've got your Superflex. So you can see here we've got, again, a Lamar Jackson team, hence the Lamar Jackson on our thumbnail, and then Kirk Cousins, which is a nice sneaky QB2. Dan loves him some Gardner Minshew, so we've got Gardner on this one as well. It could be the starter in Indy, never mind.
Yeah.
And at running back, we've got Pacheco, Rashad Penny, A.J. Brown, Treylon Burks, Evan Ingram at tight end, Rondale Moore, kickers and defenses, Zerline. On our bench, we've got Cordell Patterson, Zamir White, Naheem Hines, Latavius Murray. Brandon Cooks, you guys probably noticed, is on all of our benches. We're big fans. Mecole Hardman, Darius Slayton, Chris Moore, Darnell Mooney, and then tight ends are Dawson Knox and Cade Otton. So we can drop Chris Moore right off the bat, right?
Yeah, because we've got to get rid of 6 guys off of our bench here. So Chris Moore is definitely going to be one of them. Darius Slayton is going to be one.
Now, Hines and between, so I'm looking right now, it's like Patterson. I have no idea what's going on with him. Is he still in Atlanta? Are we expecting a similar role? What's his contract situation, Dan? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, he's still under contract with Atlanta. He's very cuttable. If they wanted to cut him, it wouldn't cost him much. But right now it's Cordarrelle and Tyler Algier, and so for that reason, and I know Cordarrelle's old. He's like 31 or whatever, but will be 32, I guess, going into the season. But he does not have a lot of tread worn off his tires or anything.
Yeah.
He has not had a ton of carries as a running back in his career. So I think he also catches passes. So I think that's a good player to hold on to.
Yeah, he's been an RB2 his last two seasons. Do you gravitate to the free agent in Murray? Murray's a guy that you and I grabbed often off of waiver wires last year, and he was a nice filler, especially if you lost like an RB2. He's not on a roster yet, or is it same approach as Fournette here, or is he a guy that you're dropping? To me, I think I dropped Hines. Where are you on Hines? I know you like Hines.
Honestly, I think Hines is a potential drop here too, especially with the, as many drops as we need to make. But Latavius Murray, given his age and given the fact that he's not on a team, nobody's going to be lying in wait for us to drop Latavius Murray and trying to snatch him up immediately in the rookie draft or something like that. I suspect if he goes in the rookie draft at all, it would be like in the 6th or 7th round. So if we want to get him again, we can get him again, at a very low cost. But almost anybody else on here would probably cost more than Murray.
So right now we're dropping Hines, Murray, Hardman next.
Well, let's see. Let's drop Murray, and then I think our next drop after Murray is probably Hardman. Okay, so now we have 2 more drops left to go.
For me, Hines is definitely one.
Yep.
And then
really, I think our next drop is either Zamir White or Gardner Minshew.
I'm trying to. That's why I paused there. I'm trying to think of Gardner Minshew's value. Like even if he goes in, let's say they draft AR, Richardson, and they're not starting him for whatever reason. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, I think Gardner Minshew has a good chance to start a few games at the beginning of the year, and thus he's probably worth holding on to. Because again, this is Superflex, so quarterbacks have a lot more value.
Exactly. I'm trying to paint like best case scenario for these guys. What does it look like, right? So Minshew, right. We just kind of painted it. Let's say he's got the starting gig for, let's say, whatever handful of games. Even is to me is amazing off guard.
Right. Yep.
Whereas Zamir White, injury to Jacobs.
So, yeah, Zamir White showed basically nothing as a rookie.
I know that's a scary thing. But the other thing is there's no one else there.
Right? But there might be, by the time all is said and done. Who knows? Maybe they sign Leonard Fournette. Who knows? Maybe they draft Zach Charbonnet or something.
You got to think they are just, again, like we think we say he didn't show anything. You got to think they feel the same. I don't know. They didn't play him much, so.
Yeah, if you can't get on the field at all as a rookie, that's not a great sign. And when we take a look at him versus like the value of a Gardner Minshew in a super flex, clearly to me, Minshew's more valuable. Patterson, you could make the argument, well, we can drop Patterson and we can keep Zamir White because White's younger. But honestly, I think Zamir White is probably going to be one of those guys who's available in the 6th or 7th round of the rookie draft here.
Yeah, he had 17 attempts last year, Dan. No receptions, his yards per carry were over 4, which is fine. But yeah, I think looking at the guys we have left, sorry guys if I'm making you dizzy, touch my mouse there. I do think that he's our drop here.
Yeah, I think so, because I definitely want to hang on to Cade Otton. I think he's an intriguing, he's kind of a, not as athletic as Jelani Woods, but he definitely showed a good bit last year.
Yeah.
And the team relied on him, and I don't know who else they're going to have at tight end. So I think Otten could fall into a good number of points. And then Dawson Knox, I mean, not the greatest talent in the world, but plays on the right offense where he's going to get a lot of scoring chances. So
yeah, Cade Otten, just outside of a tight end 2 last year, points per game with 2 touchdowns, 65 targets, 42 receptions. You got to remember, this Tampa Bay offense was not great last year. Yep. He was one of the rare, bright spots in this offense, and I think they're gonna nurture that, this year. So his yards per reception just under 10. I mean, he gave pretty good production considering. So we'll see what his college dominator, actually pretty ridiculous, almost 32%. So he definitely has potential, and with Waller as our starter, this is our Waller team, right?
Yes.
No, Ingram.
No, Ingram.
Sorry. With Ingram as our starter and then Knox, I definitely like having a third tight end there.
Yeah, I don't think it's as necessary in a Superflex to carry 3 tight ends, but, looking at our
I always forget about the Superflex in this. That's right.
Yeah. So, and we also have 3 second-round picks in this draft, and there should be some running backs going in that range, probably also some tight ends. But Zamir White, I think, is just the guy who's, like any of these other guys, I think would probably be snapped up in a rookie draft before Zamir White.
Yeah, so I mean, this is our ugly child. We're going to try to really work on it this off season, and so when school starts in September, it's at its best and living its best life. So we've got the 106, the 204, the 206, the 208, 307. So we've got some picks to play with. Mm-hmm. And it's a long off season. We can make moves. We can improve this thing. I think this will be our new project for us to kind of focus on. Maybe we focus a couple episodes of this show on it just to show how we, mold this thing into what we think could hopefully be more of a contender in this league.
Right. Exactly. All right. So Zamir White, that I think is our final cut in this league.
Did I already do it or did I leave it? Oh no, there he is. All right. There we go. So that's it. We've gone through our 3 FFPC rosters. We've got our teams down to 16. So hopefully you guys remember that it's Cutdowns. And if you're watching this and it's still the 31st, make sure you go to your FFPC, myffpc.com. Make sure you cut down your rosters. If you're not already on the FFPC, guys, make sure you join myffpc.com. I'm going to add the link to the description of the show. And if you don't use the link, you can go directly to the site, sign up. When you make your first deposit, just use the promo code GOAT, GOAT, and that'll get you an exclusive sign-up bonus that you can use towards all these fun tournaments that they have. They've got a couple of big best ball tournaments right now. You can play for $5,000, $25,000. You can play for $1 million on the FFPC right now in the Fantasy Pros tournament. So check it out, myffpc.com. I'll drop the link in the description. Use the code GOAT. Dan, another fun episode. We went a little longer this time, but we had 3 teams to make sure we got the Cutdowns in and manage. We'll come back next week, or next week I'm away, but the following week, and maybe start looking more at some trades and some moves we can make on some of our teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's an underrated time of year to trade too, between Cutdowns and the rookie draft, because sometimes you can pick up some deals that people weren't willing to do earlier because they were, making that deal would put them over 16 players that they wanted to keep. So, sometimes you can find some fertile grounds for deals that just missed prior to Cutdowns.
Yeah, and go back and look at who offered you what, who was shopping who around, and maybe they still have them on their roster and they're willing to let them go at more of a discount in your eyes. So take advantage of that. Great point, Dan. Always fun. I leave for Cancun for Cabo in less than 24, Dan. So nice. Get this pasty white skin of mine out in the sun. But I look forward to seeing you in about a week. Guys, thanks for hanging with us on this Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Make sure you get your Cutdowns in, and we'll check you all later.
Go District, the Pope listens. Dynasty our religion for the blokes missing on all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text. That trash offer's the best. You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man. Y'all know what to do. It's the and I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
Dan, before we go, I gotta get this on the screen here. I've got a 35 never too early Superflex going on the clock. Got some stacks going. We got Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson.
Nice.
I've got Kyler Murray, Marquise Brown, James Conner. Aaron Rodgers, is he naked?
Yeah,
he's
to me
naked.
he is so far.
So I've got in my queue Trey McBride because I went double tapped on the tight end, went Chig and then Knox. I have 0 Knox, so he was sitting there. I just took him.
Okay.
So I'm thinking Trey McBride here because I've got Trey McBride on like way too many teams, and especially when I have Kyler or Rondell Moore sitting there, or I get a 4th running back in like a Kareem Hunt. Damian Harris. Actually, Damian Harris with Knox is not bad.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I'm not sure how deep you want to build that Arizona stack, just because.
Well, that's it. I'm heavy Arizona stacks. Like, I'm heavy enough. Put it that way. So I don't mind.
If you've already got other teams that are stacking Arizona, then maybe just go with the players you have right there and look, to make some other stacks as well.
Dan's dying on there here.
Apparently, I am.
The B side of the show. All right, yeah, I like the Damian Harris actually with Knox. It kind of opens up a whole new aspect to the roster, and he's a nice RB4 behind Walker,
right?
Mondre, and James Conner.
And this is a point where it's probably good to go ahead and get that 4th RB in there. Because the talent is fixing to take a nosedive.
Yeah, because then it's Leonard Fournette range is
right.
Where you're going the most starts is Singletary. So I'm going to take Damien here. I love it, Dan. This is why I wanted to pick your brain before we shut this thing off.